Hi there, and today we're gonna learn how to create a gradient to live text. So you can choose any text you want without creating outlines and without turning it into shape. You can put a beautiful gradient onto it. Let's see how. So I've got this beautiful text here. It says, "Hi, how are you? I love you." No, I'm joking. It's just some old Latin or something. And I want to apply a gradient to it. So normally what I'll do is go to Object and choose Expand, or otherwise just right click and choose Create Outlines. That will turn it into a shape and will take away the live text from it. And the reason I'll have to do that is because if I wouldn't do that, then the gradient wouldn't work. So let's just get my gradient panel out. And now I want to apply a gradient to these letters. So normally any object, you just press on this and the gradient will apply. But here, even though it looks like the fill is a gradient, but as you can see, there's clearly no gradient on these letters. But if I would outline them, then it would work, because now it's not letters anymore, it's just a shape. And as you can see, you can get this gradient. I can even change it to any direction. And I can get this gradient, but of course this is not letters anymore, it's just shapes in the shape of a letter. So if I want to change the font, or if I see I misspelled this ipsum word here, or if I want to enlarge the text or any of that sort, to change the spacing or anything of that, I wouldn't be able to do it anymore. So to add a gradient to live letters, we can go to the appearance panel. If you don't have it, you can go to Windows and choose appearance from there, and that's where I'll be able to see here a fill or a stroke. Just an important notice to make is that if you selected it, then you wouldn't have this option here and you wouldn't be able to add on another fill. So you can't select it, but you have to make sure you chose the text box. So that's why many times you wouldn't have these options, because you didn't choose the text box. Once you choose it, now you've got here an option for a fill or a stroke. Let's just add now a new fill. You can do it either to the fill or to the stroke. We go here to this option, that's our new fill, and we can choose any gradient we want to apply. As you can see, it works so beautifully, even though this text is still alive. So I can carry on writing as much as I want, and I can change the text size and any other values or anything I want to change the text. It works beautifully, and this text is completely live. So once again, I just chose the text box and added this fill, and from the fill I choose which fill to apply to it, and you can choose any gradient. And of course we can edit the gradient with the gradient tool or from the gradient panel or any of that sort. You may notice though that sometimes you do get some black lines over them. In this case we don't have any of that, but that may be either because your stroke is on, so you have to take off the stroke, or otherwise sometimes because there is another fill underneath it, and that's why I would recommend that you add another extra fill, and you can put this underneath the original one and give this no fill. So that just takes away any black line which you may have. In my case I don't have it, but sometimes it does appear a small thin black line. So if you add a no fill and on top of that you add another fill, you can add however many fills you want, and you put a gradient to the second fill, then that should get rid of that. So that's the first way I've got to add a gradient to a live text. And there is another way of doing this. This is a slight more complex way, but it works just as well, and you may want to use it for some other examples, but this will be a drop easier if you want to change the gradients and all of that, and to change the letters. So we've got these letters here, and now we have let's just take any object I want, and you can create some gradient you wish to put on it. Let's get to some nicer color, and you can even make a freeform gradient. So let's say I go for this one here, and I choose Okay, so this is just for example's sake. So you can create, as you see, any gradient or even any picture or anything you want to do and send it to the back. So I'm just pressing arrange, send to back. You can use the shortcut or the layer panel. Then you select them both. So I have my live text and my gradient or anything I want to apply to this text behind the text. You right click on it and choose create make clipping mask. You can also go to object and choose clipping mask make. That's the same thing. Yes, and there we've got it. So now we have a beautiful gradient applied to this text. And by the way, as far as I know, I didn't try it out actually, but I think the first method which you mentioned, you can't create a custom made gradient, a free form gradient, whatever it's called there. So I think this way would work for that, unlike the other one. And this text is still live. So the problem is that because it's a clipped, you have to double click to get into that group, and then you can add any letters or writing you want. And once you finish, then you'll see that that's applied to it just as well. You could also undo the clipping mask, make any changes to the gradient, and then clip them back together, so you've got this beautiful gradient applied to the letters. So that's the second way you'll be able to create a gradient to live text without needing to mess up your text, and you'll be able to edit either the gradient or the letters at any point in time. If you have any other way of creating a gradient to a live text, please let me know in the comments below. Also feel free to share any other ideas, suggestions, questions, or just anything you want to add at the comments below. Thank you so much. If you gained anything, please give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.